Welcome to Wake Up Blaq. Educate and enlighten.
Said to people when they asked me if this capital crumbled to the ground, the one thing that would remain is our commitment to our aid. I don't even call it aid, our cooperation with Israel. That's fundamental.
They want us effectively to take the side of the state of Israel. That I shall never do, speaking for myself. And who exactly are they who are demanding of us to condemn Hamas? Let's be clear. These are the same people who look the other way when Israeli army, soldiers, kill unarmed journalists. They kill nurses, doctors, children. They're the people who remember international law, remember the United Nations and its charter. They remember the Geneva Convention on war crimes only when the victims are Israeli. Somehow, it escapes their mind. All these things, the UN Charter, international law, Geneva Convention, escapes from their mind when it's Palestinians.
The Israeli government and the media is showing everyone that what they're doing to the Palestinian people in Gaza, they can just as easily do to you. They are showing us that it doesn't matter what the truth is. It matters what they say the truth is. They are showing us if you are not the dominant group in an area, if you are not backed by your own military, they control what the narrative is. They control effectively everything that is a part of your existence. And as soon as they feel you step too far out of line, they can take full action and will take full action to defend that. For all of my Black Americans, I think some of us have grown too comfortable in our suburban homes with our 4-door sedans and our college degrees. And we've forgotten we are not the dominant group here. They have bombed our cities. They have bombed our churches. They have bombed the places in which we congregate, and we see that happening somewhere else, and we turn a blind eye. And that is of disservice to no one more than ourselves.
Zionism say that these people are the chosen people. Zionism is the ultimate of racism, which serves imperialism. Zionism took the ancient texts of Judaism and it flipped it. They literally took these beautiful teachings and they flipped it. It's devil worship. Kennedy supported the most rabid form of Zionism for funding the American working people's dollars to go butcher the Palestinians. If you compare Israel and the United States to Palestine, it's not even a fair fight. It's like someone who's been abusing you for 100 years and then you start rising up against them and then you make them wrong. So here's Booby effing Kennedy. He was also a Zionist, which means the promotion of the chosen people concept, Israel as the chosen people. That's a completely racist concept. It's based on nepotism. You're born into some tribe and overnight you get to be the chosen one. It's very much like the caste system in India. This concept of you don't have to work like all of us do, but you're born into some family, some caste, and you're overnight the best person.
I want you to tell me if all these dots connect. Last week, Israel banned Aljazeera, a major news publication, from publishing in their country. Not only that, Al Watan Tower, which is the hub of Aljazeera in Gaza, along with some other media publications, was demolished by Israel last week. Boom, just like that, blown to smithereens. Then Tony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, urged Gaza to censor Al Jazeera's coverage of the genocide currently taking place in Gaza right now, asking them to quote-unquote turn down the volume on Al Jazeera's coverage because it is full of anti-Israel incitement. Did they ever think maybe the anti-Israel sentiment is legitimate because this just happened today? Extremely disturbing. Al Jazeera's veteran journalist Wael Dado's wife, son, and daughter were killed in an Israeli airstrike which targeted a shelter house that they had fled to. Wael received the news while on air covering the non-stop Israeli strikes on Gaza. Just heartbreaking to watch. And they admitted to it.
בדרך כלל אנחנו יודעים את המטרה, לדוגמה היום הייתה מטרה משפחתו של כתב אל-ג'זירה, אבל בדרך כלל אנחנו יודעים, במקומות שלא יודעים, אז אנחנו מחכים להודעות שלך.
In fact, Israel has killed at least 24 journalists, most of them Palestinians, in just the last 2.5 weeks alone. Which does beg the question, if they are deliberately targeting journalists and their families, what does Israel have to hide?
What I just found out, in 37 US states, it is illegal to boycott the Israeli government. I'm going to say it again. In US states, the majority, it is illegal to boycott the Israeli government. And if you do, you are punished. You get fined, and at some point they even said 20 years in prison, but I think they had to revoke it because that was psycho. And if you are a contracted worker in these 37 states, you literally have to sign a pledge, and if you don't, you're punished. So we have freedom of speech in this country, right? Right. We are allowed to boycott and criticize our government, our own elected officials to pretty much any extent because we have freedom of speech, right? But when it comes to another country's government, we have this loyalty oath. Do you understand how insane that is? How insane that is? It is not normal for our free speech to be free and then constrained when it comes to another country's government. Can you imagine if we had this loyalty oath to Russia and when they were invading Ukraine, we couldn't go against Russia's government? The more I learn about the US and Israel's relationship, the worse it gets.
The BBC News reported that dozens of people were killed in an explosion in a northern Gaza refugee camp. And journalist Wyatt Reed says when Israel, the US, or Ukraine hit someone with a missile, it's an explosion. But any missiles fired by Palestinians or other enemies of the United States are terror attacks. Just a little lesson in how the media uses language to manipulate us, condensed into a meme.
Criminals here are not Hamas, not even the Israeli settlers who are killing Palestinians. The criminals are Europeans, us. Every single member of our German society, our French society, our Greek society, our United States society, we have participated in this crime against humanity over the decades by keeping our mouths shut as long as there is no trouble down there, as long as people are dying outside the reach of cameras, as long as it's Palestinians who die and not the occupiers. So this incredible tragedy must be converted into an opportunity for us Europeans to wake up.
Hamas doesn't recognize the right of Israel to exist.
You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like the African National Congress and Nelson Mandela refusing to accept apartheid and recognize apartheid. I say that Israel, if it wants to be a genuine partner in any kind of peace, needs to destroy its whole ideology of Zionism. Zionism that makes other people goyim, who do not deserve to be in the Holy Land. That's the real problem. If Israel will embrace every people, including Palestinians, equally, human rights respected across the board, then I would challenge Hamas to change its charter and say we will acknowledge Israel. But until that time, I see no difference between Nelson Mandela and Hamas in refusing to accept apartheid or the Zionist Israeli state.